Coming up on Being Well, dietitian Kristina Adams will be here to talk about how to design an eating plan for your lifestyle, from busy moms, frequent travelers, athletes, vegetarians, and more. We'll also discuss diet modifications that we need to make as we age. We've got that and more next on Being Well. I'm so happy that Kristina Adams from Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System has come back to talk about healthy eating plans for everyone, because I think what happens a lot of times is, you hear someone that, oh, I lost a bunch of weight doing this. Well, their lifestyle may be a lot different from your lifestyle. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is some suggestions for different lifestyle, because not one thing doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, one size does not fit all in this case.
Well, let's talk about busy moms. That's a big population. What sort of suggestions do you have for the busy moms out there?
Great thing for busy moms and families in general is just to have a collection of recipes to draw from. A lot of times you have your family favorites that you can use, and just kind of rotate those through from week to week, and maybe even have a month of meals that you can rotate with. That way you have a set grocery list, you have set items to make, you kind of know what the schedule is going to be for meals from day to day, and you can really kind of rotate that out. And even sometimes you can buy in bulk or cook in bulk, if you will, and use those ingredients for multiple meals. So you may make extra chicken where you have chicken salad, you have chicken fajitas, you can make a few other items from those things, so you can make it stretch a little further too, which is economical.
I know, like I do that when I make chicken. I'll make a couple of chicken breasts, cut them up, and then put them in the freezer, and then you have them for all sorts of stuff. Exactly.
So you just kind of have to plan ahead. So I mean, it does take some time and effort, and also incorporating the family. Sometimes it's portioning food items out so you can freeze them for later. So that way, if you're on the run or you're going to be gone and somebody's at home, they can grab one of those out of the freezer, heat it up, and have a quick, healthy meal, and not relying on eating out or processed foods.
So what suggestion do you have for busy moms? It's hard for the mom to be on a diet and then the family gets to eat whatever they want. So how do you suggest incorporating, mom's healthy eating into the family, so she's not cooking two different things?
Yeah, and I think it's important. I mean, everybody needs to be eating healthy, so hopefully mom's not getting isolated, nor dad or anybody else, but just trying to not make too many meals. So if maybe mom wants to eat fish instead of chicken, that might be a healthy option, and maybe the kids would like to try some too. So it may be a way to incorporate some different food items into their diet as well if mom is eating slightly different.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, mom's on a diet, no one gets anything good.
That's right.
Well, let's talk about people who travel a lot. In the summer, my job, I'm on the road a lot, and it's tough. What can you eat and drive? Drive through fast food. What advice do you have for frequent travelers?
Frequent travelers, depending on what the travel is, sometimes if you're going places and can call ahead and find out what's in the location, or just look on the internet and look around and see if there's grocery stores, what kind of restaurants in the area, and just kind of plan accordingly so you have a little bit of things and choices in mind of what healthy eating you could be making, and also just grab and go kind of foods, things that travel well, that aren't perishable, that would be good to take with you, or even if you do have a small cooler that you could take with you if you're going to just be in the car all day and back home at night. Tubes of yogurt and pieces of fruit, vegetables, small container of dip, string cheese. I mean, there's lots of little things that you can take along with you that travel well.
And airports have lots of options, not just, high calorie ones. There's lots of good things that you can pick out at the airport.
And the great thing is you can still take a lot of food items on the airplane, so you don't have to restrict your food items that you're carrying on. A lot of times, my husband kind of freaked out one time when we were traveling that I had taken some snacks for the plane. He's like, you can't take those. I'm like, no, you can't take fluids. I can take food. So I made sure of that. So we were able to have healthy snacks, along the way, and not have to rely on the airport food.
What are some really good, nutrient-dense, good sort of to-go foods? I'm thinking like dried fruit is a good one that's small but has a lot of
there's a great way to make just your own. You can buy healthy trail mix, or you can make your own, but a lot of times you can get a good portion of grains and proteins, as well as, like you mentioned, a good source of iron from dried fruit. So you can easily pick up some trail mix or create your own as well, and that'd be a great snack along the way. There's lots of good protein nutrition bars out there too.
Yeah, and why is it that some of those bars or trail mix that have that different combination of stuff, why are they seem to make you feel more full even though you're not eating a whole bunch of it, versus a whole thing of potato chips?
Well, it's the nutrient-dense calories versus empty calories. So you're getting a lot better balance of carbohydrates, fats, proteins when you do a blend of those kind of foods. So your protein bars are kind of balanced to be like that. Well, some trail mixes can be balanced to be like that too. You do have to be careful with those. And just, trying not, it makes it easy too. You don't have to worry about combining your foods to figure out what's a good snack. And so those make it an easier, no-brainer choice.
Okay, so we've got, next on our list, we've got athletes, and we've got people that work out a lot, maybe training for a run or something. You do have to modify your diet if you are doing a lot of heavy training, not just, oh, I'm going to go for a little walk around the block. That means I can eat whatever I want. But what do you recommend for athletes or people who really do work out quite a bit?
The biggest challenge with athletes is sometimes it's the activity, knowing what you're wanting to do and kind of gauging what you're going to eat around that. Typically, if someone's going out for a run, they may not want to have a pre-meal before going out that's going to be liquid based. They may just want to have something more solid because a lot of times you think about the motion of running, and things moving around. But other activities might be okay if you had, like a smoothie or something before a pre-workout. But it's the pre and post meals that you want to be thinking about what you're going to have so that you are fueling properly both before and after the workout. And hydration is a big thing too. Those are probably the biggest areas to target.
So are there certain things that you should have more of before you work out and after, more protein, less protein, more carb? I mean, what do you recommend?
A lot of times the pre-meal is more carbohydrate based depending on what the activity is once again, but a lot of times we're kind of burning up that fuel as we're using it, so we want to have those carbohydrate stores there. And afterwards you want to have a better balance of maybe replenishing the carbohydrates, also electrolyte levels, looking at some of the fluid replacers that are out there, and also some protein too to help with muscle repair.
Okay. And we've got we're here in Charleston, so we've got a large college population, high school population. Our students are on the go, whether they're high school students or college students, and sometimes maybe some late night eating. What do you recommend for students?
Yeah, college life is challenging because there is a lot of, I guess, unknown when you're going to be and when you're going to be eating. So it is having, your pantry, your refrigerator well stocked, and it can be, once again, a lot of those grab and go items, but it may be a little bit more of combining that might work for college kids. So apples and peanut butter or hummus and vegetables would be good combinations where you're getting a vegetable, fruit, and protein. Also the things that, you can take with you, obviously pieces of fruit or bags, a small bag of carrots or something can travel well. The trail mix, the protein bars we talked about. The tubes of yogurt are really easy and portable to take along as well. Small cartons of milk even if you're a milk drinker.
Okay. Let's talk about people who are on different kinds of diets. Let's use vegetarians, for example. Good vegetarian diet doesn't mean you eat potato chips and mashed potatoes and baked potatoes. How should vegetarians maintain a well-balanced diet without, they're not eating meat?
Right, and that's a good point. That the vegetarians, basically, if you are wanting to limit your meat sources, you have to find a replacer for those protein foods that you're going to be missing. So finding a balance of either meat alternatives, which might be soy-based products, or utilizing more bean products in your diet. And there can be lots of healthy options out there, and you can modify a lot of meat-based entrees to meet your needs too. So you can make vegetarian chili, you can do vegetable stir-fries, and use more beans in there, and especially the edamame or the soybean pods are really good sources for that.
I know, I was just at the grocery store, and the bean aisle, the canned, there are so many different kinds of beans. So if you don't like one, try something else.
Exactly. Don't give up that first time. There's lots to try.
So let's talk about vegetarians and beans. Beans have protein and fiber. How does that the protein level compare to a piece of chicken, for example?
The great thing about beans is they do have the protein and fiber, but it's not a complete protein, meaning it doesn't have a complete amino acid profile like our animal-based sources do. So all your dairy products, all your meat products are going to have a complete amino acid profile. So what that means for a vegetarian is a little bit of combining if you're going to choose more bean products.
Okay, combining with what then?
With the different types of grains and proteins from your beans that are out there, so you do get that complete amino acid profile. So like a rice and bean kind of dish would give you a good balance of those amino acids.
Which that is actually what I had for lunch before today. But I did notice, though, I think one of the things, canned beans, I was eating them, that they're kind of salty. Is that, we're going to talk about some things, but there is some salt in.
There is, and that's the challenge with canned vegetables in general, whether it's beans or not, is there is sodium in the canning process for preservation. So it's an easy fix is just rinsing it off. You're going to get rid of, virtually 50% or more of the sodium. So that's an easy one. It's a lot quicker to still use your canned vegetables or canned beans specifically versus dried beans.
Yeah, they take a little
longer
to cook. Okay, so we talked about different lifestyles of different people, but there's certainly common foods that we should all have in our diet. And what would you suggest?
Top of my list is typically fruits and vegetables. We're just a society, we're just not eating enough produce in general. So I always think eat the rainbow. It's an old adage, you may have heard it before, but just make your plate really colorful. So you want lots of produce. And that can be fresh, frozen, and canned. Okay. I think sometimes we're under the misleading thought that it has to be all fresh foods, but it can be frozen and canned. And even though we talked about maybe some sodium in canned vegetables, that would be no reason not to have them. So just getting in more produce in general. Still aiming for 3 vegetable, 2 fruit servings a day.
And those are half-cup servings.
Those are, and so they're not as much as you think. I mean, to eat a piece of fruit, you may be getting more than 1 serving because some of those apples are
they're
big.
Like this big, the size of a pumpkin.
Yes. So it's not as hard as you think.
Okay, so fruits and vegetables, what else?
Also more whole grain foods. There's a lot of processed foods out there, and unfortunately they're found in those convenience foods that, once again, as we've been talking about, if you're on the go a lot and just busy, we may be falling back on those. So trying to really seek out more whole grain or higher fiber foods, which is just switching to something instead of white rice, switching to brown rice, is just going to be a lot better nutrient value for us.
Okay, whole grains. What else?
Also fluids. I mentioned with the athletes, water and hydration. But once again, I mean, we talked last time, I believe, about almost 96 gallons of soda being consumed in a year. So we're looking at, just empty calories. So just plain old water, just pushing more
So just because
fluid.
you're drinking fluids, that should be more water, not just 96 ounces of
And it
soda.
can also come in the form of iced tea, or if you like to flavor your water, you can simply just squeeze the lemon in there, some of the flavor packets that are out there. So it doesn't have to be plain water if you're just not a plain water drinker.
I gave up soda this year. It was really, really hard.
Good for you.
But it's still a challenge. It still speaks to me at the grocery store, but I have found, my sister and I were talking about, she's going to try doing it too. And I said, give it about 3 months, but it's possible, but I do feel better.
Yeah, it is challenging, but you just have to set your mind to it and just take that first step and do it, and it does get easier.
Do you think people sometimes think, well, it's diet soda? It's not the sugary kind, so that's better.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to cut calories. It might be an easy way to wean yourself off pop. If you're drinking regular soda, maybe switch to diet and then kind of gradually just go without. But there's still concerns with all the artificial sweeteners that are out there and how much you may be consuming when it comes to diet drinks.
Okay, so we should all have more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, fluids, particularly water. What else?
Also, when I think of your protein sources, sometimes we're getting too high a fat protein food. So low fat dairies and lean meat. So more fish, more healthy nuts. Also looking at low fat, milk choices, dairy, cottage cheese, those kind of things would be good options.
You talked about whole grains, and a lot, that's become in packaging. Whole grain. Can you explain what whole grain means?
Whole grain, in essence, means you get the whole grain.
Okay.
You're not getting any part
So if you think of like a little piece of wheat, it's all of it, not
Exactly.
just
You're getting the whole kernel, if you want to think of that. So you're not getting a piece of it. It's not ground up. It's not been changed any. So you're getting the whole thing. So you're going to get fiber, in essence, when you do that.
Okay.
If you get something that says enriched grain, it's been processed. So it's been broken apart. So the fiber typically is gone. It's been kind of pulverized, if you will, because it's ground up. So enriched fibers, or enriched grains, I should say, have been added things back to them.
So the browner the bread, maybe the better?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, okay.
That can be coming from color, whether it be molasses that they use for the ingredient, or if they just actually add food coloring to get the brown color. So
okay, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, when you read a label, don't look at the cover. You want to turn it around and actually look at the ingredient list. So you want whole grain to be that first ingredient.
What about, like, you see whole grain, very white colored bread? Is that okay?
There is actually a whole grain, a white wheat out there, and those would be a higher fiber also.
Okay, so read your labels. That's what's important.
Yeah, especially turn the label around, I should say, too, because sometimes we buy into the advertising on the outside of the label. So you really want to look at that ingredient list.
Well, and I think I heard, maybe you told me or someone else said, that the fewer the ingredients, the better.
Exactly.
Less than 5.
If you can pronounce them,
that's
the better.
True. If the names are that long, it's not a good thing. Are there other nutritional things? Because we want to get into women and hormones in just a bit. Are there other nutritional things you wanted to address?
I think just, I kind of hit on it already, but just being a very good label reader, being cautious about your food choices. And if you have time in the grocery store, take that time and read labels and look at the ingredients, compare products, and really kind of be more educated about what you are choosing.
And do you think people are becoming more aware, better label readers in your practice?
I think we're getting there. And I think it's just learning. Sometimes we buy into that advertising and we think we're getting a healthy choice and we find out later, not so healthy.
Yeah, so be a good label reader. Okay, let's talk, moving on to a subject that a lot of reviewers are interested in. That's women in our 40s. It seems like, one day you could lose weight, the next day you have a birthday and you're done. Let's talk about the role of hormones in losing weight and gaining weight. What's going on? And why is somehow 40 seem to be the magic number?
Yeah, there's just something that happens as we're getting older, but it does seem to revolve around that 40 age where we start to really lose muscle mass and gain fat at a greater rate as we're getting older, both men and women alike. It's called sarcopenia. But we as women tend to lose, and gain it differently than men. And obviously men have an advantage. They're starting at a higher muscle mass. So it affects us differently. About 6 ounces per year we're losing fat, gaining muscle.
Okay.
I'm sorry, backwards.
Losing muscle, gaining fat.
Yes.
Yes, a pound of this, the fat.
Yes.
Right
so
there.
That in itself is one area where then it does change our metabolic rate because the less muscle we carry around tends to make the metabolism slower. So that's kind of changing as we're getting older, and also our hormones are changing because there's that thing out there called menopause.
Yes.
So estrogen, progesterone, once again, we carry around, men do not, so it affects us differently. Those are decreasing as we get older too, especially around the perimenopause age, which usually hits 40s, if not sometimes earlier, but that tends to be the marker. And that also changes how we store fat. As women, we're more predisposed to carry fat in our hips and thighs. We start to carry it abdominally. And it's more visceral, which means it's not the pinch and inch kind of fat we're talking about. It's internal around the organs.
And that's not good. That's
it's more like a toxic fat if you think of it, because that's what raises our risk for heart disease, cancers, and also insulin resistance, where we're more susceptible to diabetes.
So is it because we have less of one kind of hormone? Is that what's causing this weight gain?
Well, it's a decrease in the hormones in general, because those are more protective, if you will, the estrogen, progesterone, as far as the fat deposits.
Okay, so what can we do? That's the next question. Yeah. What can we do?
Well, the biggest challenge is activity, and also changing how we eat, because how we ate in our 20s and 30s isn't always going to be what we need to continue doing in 40s and beyond. But exercise, trying to focus more on resistance training, which as women we're kind of never really, looking at resistance training or weight training as an activity that we do. So it's going to help preserve the muscle mass, if not build muscle, which will help to raise our metabolic rate.
Okay, let's talk about the role of birth control and why some women claim to gain a lot of weight. All right, tell us about that.
It actually tends to be a lot of fluid weight.
Okay.
And there is a little window, I think you mentioned earlier, give it 3 months. It's kind of the same thing with birth control. If you try a new birth control, give it a good 2 to 3 months, because there is that little window where your body's going through adjustment period. So you could see weight gain. Most of what the research shows us, though, is all fluid. So it gives your body time to adjust, and then it should be changing, shortly thereafter, three months or so. If you happen to be someone that's more significant weight gain, or it doesn't go away, then you may need to talk to your doctor and change that prescription, because there are many different pills out there. So you just may be more susceptible to how one reacts versus another. Okay.
So what do we need to do as we get older? Is there a certain, you should eat 200 less calories every decade you get older? Or what do you recommend?
There's really no rule of thumb. It is just eating less in general, but it's more the quality of food. We've kind of been talking about eating healthier, but the quality of foods we're getting as we get older, and knowing that our metabolism is slowing down, we don't need to eat as many calories to keep ourselves at the the weight we've been at, or even to lose weight. Also looking at less activity as we get older. So just trying to change the tables a little bit, if you will, and eat healthier, eat smarter, and be more active in a different way.
And we're losing that muscle mass, which, as we've talked about on this show, the more muscle you have, the more calories it takes to keep that muscle going. So it's like this whole combination of things.
Yeah, and then we kind of question, why am I gaining weight now? Well, sometimes we're not adjusting how we're eating or our activity level as we age, and our body's naturally going to be doing these changes to us.
And of course, it's different for everybody. Just because, if your best friend, you're the same age, she can eat this and you can't. Everybody's different.
And I have sometimes patients who say, I'm active all the time and it's not helping. Well, that's another area to look at, is to change that activity level. It's becoming easy to you. That's great. Your body's efficient, but you need to change it up to make it more challenging.
And I think that's one thing we as women, we get into an exercise routine, and it's, you know, we get comfortable with it, and we're not really like men. We're like, oh, we want this to be difficult. And we tend to sort of, oh, this is fun and nice. And you do have to step it up a notch.
Yeah, and routines are great because that, you know, you have your schedule, but like I said, you have to change that alternatively sometimes, or if your routine gets interrupted, having that backup plan.
Yeah, and the longer you do a certain exercise routine, you know, if you've been going to the same kind of class for years and years, it's your body's pretty used to it.
Yes.
Do one new thing and your body will tell you.
And your body's actually like that with food sometimes too. If you're a real scheduled eater, your body gets used to having those nutrients, the digestion that's taking place. So sometimes changing your diet up, you know, can make a difference too, and make the body work a little differently.
So do you recommend your largest meal of the day be breakfast?
Yeah, you want to flip the pyramid, if you will,
the old food
guy pyramid. We want to be able to, you know, eat more food earlier in the day, and then taper it off through the day. So we don't want to have that larger meal at the end of the day, which tends to be what's happening. Patients, you know, that I talk to are skipping meals through the day, not eating and taking time to really eat healthfully, and then
well, I mean, that's our schedule. We have the most time to eat at the end of the day. And that's how a lot of us grew up, with the big supper of potatoes and vegetables and meat and all that.
Using it as a way to de-stress. So finding, you know, other activities and alternatives to do that instead of turning to food as that comfort.
Okay, so let's, we just got a few minutes left. Let's just talk a little bit about some final advice that you can give people, you know, when they're looking at their lifestyle and, you know, what can I do? Now, it's not all about, okay, I'm going to be on this diet so I can lose weight. This is, you know, about a healthy eating plan for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle change. So you have to approach it with that mindset instead of the quick fix diet. I need to get this weight off now. Really focusing on and looking at, you know, what is going on in your lifestyle. Are you eating on the run a lot? Are you not making time for exercise? Do you pick up convenience foods? Are you going through, you know, drive-through meals more than you're cooking at home? You know, how can we make some changes? And it doesn't have to be a complete overhaul, but it may be simple as having mustard on your sandwich instead of mayonnaise, you know, saving some calories in different places that can make a difference. So it's baby steps. You kind of mentioned, you know, trying to quit drinking soda, the same thing, you know, trying to cut the calories in small places where you can, instead of trying to think, instead of being a meat and potatoes eater, I'm going to all of a sudden be vegetarian one day. So it's, you know,
make those drastic changes.
Yeah, those extreme changes tend to be the ones that don't stick, and when we throw in the towel pretty quick.
All right, well, Kristina, thanks for coming back on.
Thank you.
She brought the pound of fat, so we could all look at that. Yeah, you have to bring this every time.
3,500 calories to gain or lose one of these.
To gain or one. It seems like a lot, but it's possible.
It can be done.
All right, thanks for coming on the show.
Welcome.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
While growing up, many of us have heard the phrases, clean your plate or no, you can't have candy. But how exactly do these parental attitudes towards food affect our child's weight? Here's Elizabeth Corden with more.
A new study out of the University of Minnesota has found a lot of parents deny their children certain foods or force them to clean their plates. But data has also shown that these practices may be causing weight issues in their kids. The study found parents who restricted certain foods, such as candy or junk food, were more likely to have overweight or obese children. And those parents who pressured their children to eat everything at a meal had youngsters who were not overweight but did show signs of eating and weight problems later in life. Researchers also found dads were more likely than moms to pressure their sons and daughters to eat, and adolescent boys were pressured more than adolescent girls. The data also showed that restricting food from kids was a common practice of both fathers and mothers in both boys and girls. Investigators believe that parents should keep an eye on their child's weight and understand good eating practices instead of worrying about whether their kids clean their plates or have a cookie now and then. They recommend such practices as eating regular family meals, having nutritious snacks at home, choosing healthy foods, and encouraging young people to make better food choices as a way to fight weight problems. For today's Health Minute, I'm Elizabeth Corridan.
We all know that stress can be bad for us. It's a major factor in such conditions as heart problems, diabetes, and even infertility. So how do you know when you are overstressed and what you can do? Holly Furfer tells us more.
Let's face it, unless you live in a cave, you can't avoid stress. It's everywhere. But sometimes major stressful events, such as the death of a loved one or the loss of a job, can mount up and begin to affect your health. How can you tell if you are really stressed out? According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, these signs could mean you need to step back and deal with your stress. If you're tense, irritable, and it affects your day-to-day interactions with people. If you have fear or anxiety about the future. If you have difficulty making decisions. You have frequent nightmares or sleeplessness, or you feel powerless. Doctors will tell you there are things you can do to cut down on your stress. Try to avoid drugs and alcohol. They make you feel good at the time, but they can be a dangerous crutch. Find support. Talk to a friend, a counselor, clergy person, even a doctor, because sharing a problem lightens the load. Get out and be with friends. Having fun and laughing can really de-stress a person. And be good to yourself. That means exercise. Try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Eat healthy. And always keep your mind active. It will make you feel a whole lot better. For today's Health Minute, I'm Holly Furfer.
Being Well is also available online at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WEIUTV. Just look for the Being Well playlist. Here you can view current and past episodes.